This is Mark from My Keys to Music. This is part 2 of the Nord Stage 3 pedal video where we talk about the sustain pedal and the control pedal and the various options and settings you have directly on the Nord Stage 3. We're going to be plugging each of these pedals in and taking a look at what they can do from the preferences standpoint, what options you have as a musician to control things like the rotary speaker, the different effects, the different options you have with the sustain pedal, the swell pedal, the organ swell pedal, and of course the control pedal and some of the morphing options. By the end of this video, you will feel like a pedal expert when it comes to managing and maintaining your Nord Stage 3 and the various accessories you have options to purchase. If you didn't already look at video 1 where we talked about the pedals, the types of pedals and their functionality and how they connect and where they connect on the Nord Stage 3, be sure to check out video 1. I'll put a link up here or where you can find that out and get that information. All right, without further ado, let's continue this lesson found at www.mykeystomusic.com. This is one of the many lessons I have for mastering the Nord Stage 3 course that I have. If you're brand new to the Nord Stage 3 and you want to learn everything from A to Z in a really protected professional manner without all the ads and promotional stuff that you might find here on this YouTube channel, feel free to check it out at mykeystomusic.com. Without further ado, let's continue this lesson. This is part 2 and we'll look at it right here on the Nord Stage 3. All right, I have the Nord Stage 3 set up and I have all the pedals connected, and we'll go through each one and take a look at some of the settings and some of the things you can do with these pedals. The first one is the most obvious. It's the sustain pedal. This is the Nord sustain pedal that I'm using. It came with the Nord Stage 3. If you buy it new, you probably get one as well. So it's obvious you plug it into the sustain pedal port in the back, which I've done. But something that might not be totally obvious when you first get this and work with your Nord is some of the other options you have. For example, if I go to the system settings here and I look at the sustain pedal type, I have auto is selected, which means that it's going to be defaulted to closed, meaning if the pedal is closed, it will be in sustain mode. Compare that to open, which means if the pedal is open, it will sustain. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've plugged in a sustain pedal and it only seems to work when the pedal is not invoked, that's because it's set to be sustain pedal open or your polarity is off. So in this case, I'm going to keep it as sustain pedal open because that's not the obvious thing. And what happens is, so long as the pedal isn't pressed down, I push the keys. Now my hands are off the keyboard, yet the sound is sustained. So to change that, you would go here to the open type, the pedal type, and you would set it to auto closed or manually just set it to closed. Either way, closed is what we would consider the normal option. And this is the option you get on a traditional piano as well. Just push it, and as long as you have it pushed, it'll sustain. Now, the functions you get here are pretty interesting because it can act as a traditional sustain pedal, but it can also go a step further and invoke the Rotary Hold option, which you can also get if you plug in a rotary pedal to the Rotary Hold jack in the back. But the sustain pedal, let's just say you only have one sustain pedal. You can actually use that for your rotor hold or rotor toggle. And let's just listen to that. So for the rotor hold, I'll just turn on the actual organ engine here, and I'll make sure that the rotary speaker is on. So it's on now. I've got it in stop mode, but what happens when I push the sustain pedal in this particular mode is it will hold the speaker speed when I have it depressed because I have it set to closed, right? So it's a closed sustain pedal with sustain and rotor hold options on. And what that means is the piano will sustain as well. So watch what happens. I'll hold this, and as I push the pedal, it's speeding up that speaker, holding it for as long as I hold this. When I let go, it will slow the speaker down. Now, watch this as well. It's sustaining the piano. So you'll hear the piano in the background as I let go of the keys and I hold the sustain pedal. But you'll hear the organ cut out. Why? Because the organ isn't set for sustain. Only the piano is. Hear the piano? The piano is still sustained as long as I hold that. Okay, so that is a little bit about that. Now, if I set the organ to also sustain, which is an option you have here on the Nord Stage 3, you can tell your organ to also be invoked with the sustain pedal, no problem. Now they're both held. Both the piano and the organ are held with the sustain pedal. So some neat options there. The other option you have is the rotor toggle, which means as I push the pedal down, it's stopping the speaker, starting it up, accelerating it, stopping it, accelerating it. So that's the toggle between the speaker being essentially invoked or not invoked, turning or not turning. Okay, that takes care of the sustain pedal options. The next set of options is the rotor pedal, which is almost identical to what we just did, except that the rotor pedal is dedicated on its own port. In other words, if you want to have just a single pedal and know full well that that pedal is going to be the rotor pedal, you can get another sustain pedal in your setup and plug that directly into the rotor pedal and have it dedicated for that purpose. But the funny thing is, it's got all the same or very similar options as the sustain pedal options. You have the option of open and closed, as well as auto, which in this case is set to open. That means if the pedal is up, it will be set to be invoked, and then only when I push it down will the rotary speaker slow down. And then the function is rotor toggle and rotor hold. So let me do rotor hold, and we'll keep it open, and it should be held open. When it's open, it should be held. So let's listen. As I push down, the speaker is invoked. As it lets go, the speaker slows down and comes to a stop. And it's only coming to a stop because I've set it over here to be in stop mode. Okay, so that's the rotor speaker and the rotor pedal type. That's pretty straightforward. So if you only have one pedal, but you want to have a pedal that does both sustain and rotor, then just plug it in and put those options on as you just saw a moment ago. The next pedal option to discuss is the program pedal. And that's going to be talking about the program up and down pedal port. Now I happen to have here another pseudo sustain pedal, kind of a pseudo foot switch in a sense, but it's really just a low-cost sustain pedal. And what that will do is once this is plugged in, you'll see it's moving. In this case, the sounds are going down. So let me go to E11. You'll see E12. Excuse me, the sounds are going up. E13, E14, E22, 23, 24, and it's moving up through. Now, obviously, you wouldn't use a sustain pedal to do the program up and down. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes because I don't have an A-B pedal here at the moment. So, but that's how that works now. You can change the polarity on this by going into the system settings and clicking on mode and go either inverted or normal. If you go to normal, then the sounds, the programs will go down. So that gives you an idea of how that works. Now, in song mode, it's really neat because you can go through the song parts. You go from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, and then assume you'd have your other A or B, it would go up. But in order to invoke that, I have to switch the polarity and go to inverted, and it will go up now through the song parts, just like that. So that's how the foot switch works. The next pedal to talk about is the control pedal type. So you can choose here the different types as recommended by Nord and Clavia. You have the Roland EV7, you have the Yamaha FC7, the Korg, and the Vitar SL. Those are the types. Then the function is control or control and swell. Swell has to do with manipulating the sound of your organ or the volume of your organ. Control will be a result of your control pedal here, morphing whatever parameter you can morph on the Nord Stage 3. You program whatever morph you want, and the control pedal will take hold of that. And then finally, you have a gain option as well over here. So in this case, I've got my FC7, so I'll plug in the Yamaha FC7. And the function, I'll just have, to keep it simple, I'll just do a control. And then I'd like it to control the piano volume. So I'll just quickly program a morph. I'll push on my control pedal and move my volume up here from basically 0 to 10, or from none to full. And now I let go, and my control pedal here is assigned to the piano volume. And watch this. As I move the pedal down and up, you should see the volume moving up and down. All right. And you can control all kinds of things. There's some neat things you can do. You can control the frequency cutoff, the LFO in the synth engine. And then for the effects, you can control things like the amount on effect 1, the amount on effect 2, the rate on effect 1, and different things like that. You can also control the dry-wet settings on the delay, the feedback amount, the tempo, lots and lots of things you can control with the control pedal. So once you program that, and you can stack them too, so the control pedal can do multiple things at the same time. So that's a nice option. A control pedal is almost a must-have on the Nord Stage 3, in my opinion. You've seen a lot of my videos where we use the control pedal, like the THX sound. To make that THX sound, it's a lot easier using a pedal to do that. Okay, so that's the control pedal. And then finally, we have the last option here, which is the swell pedal type, which I can put here. I've put my second FC7 for the swell. And the swell, you get two options. You get to have it to be a traditional swell. And for that, let's just put on the organ and listen. This is at full level here. And as I bring this pedal down, you'll see that you still hear the organ, and that's how traditional swell pedals work. They always have a little bit of volume left in reserve, even though the pedal's all the way down. So that's how a swell pedal works. But you do get an option to do volume, which would be 0 through 100. So here's 100 down to 0. And then the other option that the volume gives you is if you put on another engine here. So if I put on another engine like the synth engine, and I can move the pedal up from 0, you hear the organ. But if I just turn the organ off manually, you'll hear the synth engine. So when you have this volume setting, the swell pedal and the option that you have there to plug it into the back using the swell pedal can adjust the volume of all three sound engines if you have it set to swell pedal volume. That also has a gain option as well. Okay, and that takes care of the pedal types and their functions. Hopefully you've learned a lot more about how this all works. I know that there's always questions about pedals and what options are. I know when I first got the Nord Stage 3, obviously I understood what a sustain pedal was, and of course I used that. I kind of knew in theory what a control pedal was, and I kind of figured it did volume, but I wasn't really sure to the extent of what it can do, and it can do a lot. And then the program up and down switch is really a nice to have, especially if you are you've got a defined set list and you really don't want to take your hands off the keyboard. That up down switch can really help. All right, thanks for joining me on this video. Again, if you missed part 1, make sure you catch that. Subscribe, like, click on the notification bell, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.